A bit more about my background. We've been a HubSpot certified partner, the Weidert Group, since 2011. We were one of the first 20 in the world to do that, and so we've been doing this a long time. I've been president of Weidert Group since 2001, so I was here when we weren't a partner, and really was part of this groundswell of movement toward using better tools to attract more and better leads. Background on me: I got a wife, 2 kids, 2 grandkids, a son-in-law right there, and an expanding family of dogs. But I'm also a host of the Changeover podcast. You all got a sticker as part of your welcome materials. Please, if you haven't seen the Changeover podcast, urge you to take a look. We're pretty proud of, we launched it about 2 months ago, and we continue to produce. We're trying to, what's our pace, Kelly? What are we trying to do?
At least every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so keep an eye on it. And once you subscribe, you'll be notified when we publish a new one. So our first statement here is that our landscape as sales and marketing people has been disrupted. What do you think we're talking about when we say disrupted? Let's see, I've got some people in the front row here. Chris?
It's just constant, isn't it?
And what do you see? What's the disruption from your perspective?
Clutter.
A lot of noise.
Attention, trying to get people's attention. And
Yeah, there's a lot of noise. Some of the disruption has been a long time coming. 2014, Google introduced snippets. And snippets were a device that they created to try to keep people on their page, to give them the information they were looking for. And it's gradually built up enough of a following, enough people enjoyed snippets, that by 2018, they were really starting to grow the number of zero-click searches. You know, you search for something and you don't click, you get the snippet, you read it, and you're done. What do you think AI did to the zero-click searches? Well, Stacy, you're laughing. Yeah, and that's good for users. It's bad for publishers. It's really bad for publishers because Google has essentially said they don't want to send people to your pages, to our pages, to any publisher pages. They want to keep them on the Google page. So that's the dynamic that's happening now, and it's really disrupted our world. It's disrupted so much that we were at the HubSpot conference earlier this year, and the CEO of HubSpot pulled a fact out that was alarming. It said that 2 years ago, 65% of sales reps typically made their quota every year. The projection for this year is that only 50% are making quota. And so people's ability to earn a living is being affected by what's happening on Google and on the web and with search. So that's a huge disruption. And we have a choice as sales and marketing people. We can live with it, or we can do something about it. And our decision is do something about it. And that's what we're talking about here, is some things that you can do about it. So what we're going to talk about today, this is very tactical. You know, sometimes we talk strategy. Today we're talking tactics. And the tactics are to use the capabilities that we have as sales and marketing people, that the good side of technology. AI may have disrupted a lot of things, but there's a lot of good that's coming in. And you can, again, you can decide, are you going to ignore it or are you going to do something? And we're going to do something. So we're going to talk about the simple plays that you can add to make your assets work better for you. So in that previous slide, there was a simple play. What do we mean by a play? First, it's trigger-based. And trigger means something happens and then we do this. So the something could be somebody comes to your website and doesn't identify themselves. Okay, we're going to do this. You lose an opportunity that you got the privilege of proposing to, but you didn't get the business. When that happens, you do this. Or you go to an event, a trade show. That's a trigger. You do this, this, and this. So that's what we mean by trigger. It's it's the actions that follow that trigger are marketing actions and sales actions that are easy to execute. So that means we're going to use automation. We're going to use automation as much as we can to make the execution happen behind the scenes so that your team doesn't have to literally physically do something. They can rest easy in the confidence that something is happening when that trigger happens. It's going to mean we have a specific goal. If we do this, we want this to happen. If we go after, for example, a lost piece of business, we want our marketing activity to re-engage that lead. We want the sales action to start a conversation, to restart the conversation, something like that. So we want measurable results, that if we do 100 of these, we want 10 to result in some good activity for us, or something like that. And the last piece is exciting. It's that all of these are fueled by data that you have today. So a few of you have heard me use this analogy. I'm going to use it again. We think of this as, anybody know how olive oil is made? Oh, come on. How is olive oil made? In its most essential, where does olive oil come from? Does it come out of the ground? Huh? It's from olives, yes. And how do you take an olive and get the juice out of it? You squeeze it. In the old days, and I've learned this recently, Frank, because I've talked about this so much, I decided I should check the facts. And the way olive oil used to be produced is they'd squeeze the olives and they'd get some oil out, and that was considered extra, extra virgin oil. It was the best. But there was still some oil left in those olives, and they'd squeeze it again, and that was a second press. And then they'd squeeze it again, and that's the third press. And that's what we're talking about with your existing data is, for the most part, a lot of companies don't squeeze their data at all, right? You got mountains of data because you're collecting it every day. Your CRM is accumulating data, your website's accumulating data. And if you're not doing anything with it, you got ripe olives falling on the ground, not ever getting squoze. And so that's what we're talking about, is you got to do something with those olives. And then what makes this powerful and attractive right now is that with AI, a lot of these plays can be done at scale, meaning you don't have to be really selective. You can set some things up. You're looking like there's a question. Is there a question? Okay. At scale means if you set it up so that every piece of lost business is going to be remarketed to, you don't worry if all of a sudden you've got 10 of those or 20, or depending on how your business is done, if you have a whole lot of those, because it doesn't take human effort. You've set it up so that automation starts the process for you, starts the marketing actions, and notifies sales that they have a job to do as well. Okay, the first one is a little bit what I'll call run of the mill. This is something we all should be doing all the time anyway, which is BOFU. Who can tell me that they're tracking with me and knows what BOFU means? BOFU. Some of you do. I know you do. Pardon me? Yeah, it's bottom of the funnel. Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I don't read anymore. So the idea here is you always want to be measuring what's happened on your bottom of the funnel conversions. And thinking today is that you can't just have one conversion opportunity on your website. You can't just have a consultation request. You have to have multiple ways, because not everybody wants a consultation request. People want other things. They might want you to evaluate something. They might want a chatbot to pop up that they can schedule a meeting. There's a lot of different ways that visitors can convert. And what you need to do is really understand your buyer and the journey they're on, so that you have multiple ways for them to convert. And especially if you see that what you have there isn't getting a lot of conversions. And you can learn about, what's normal just by going to ChatGPT and asking, what should I expect in this industry? What % of my site visitors should be converting on a form? And if you're below industry benchmarks, then you need more opportunities for your visitors to convert. The second play, and this is personally my favorite because it's potentially really easy. It's potentially a great source of new engagement with potential leads for everybody who does it. Our B2B is a software product, the best way to describe it. It's code that you put on your site, and it can actually de-anonymize. Am I saying that word right?
Yep, spot on.
Which a better way to say de-anonymize would be identify. But it identifies the anonymous, and it doesn't work 100%. We're expecting about 30%. We've got it on our site now, so that when somebody visits our site and they haven't converted before, so we don't know who they are, this product uses AI to think about it as triangulation. Triangulation in targeting is what surveyors use, for example. They make triangles and they figure distances based on that, based on angles and a lot of other math. And our B2B does that with people visiting your site. It uses probabilities. So it's not 100%. It might tell you, oh, Ed is the guy who visited your site from Acme Corporation, and it's actually Ned from Acme. Real close, he's just down the hall, he does the same job. So it got most of it right. It knew that he was in purchasing and at this level, at that company. So it's not perfect because it's using probabilities, but it's using probabilities to tell you who was there. And then, so the trigger is somebody visits and doesn't convert. The marketing action is, for us, we set up automation to enroll everybody who's qualified. So we use tools to do a qualification of them based on their demographics. So are they from a company big enough in an industry we care about and with the right title? And then we enroll them in a sequence. The handoff goes to Frank, who runs BD for us, and we go from there. And we're not sure that it's going to be a great source of opportunity for us, but we're going to keep playing with it because it doesn't take much, because now it's running, right? Running silently. Play 3, I mentioned lost business. And this feels like a really rich opportunity for every business who has considered purchases. When you think about it, a considered purchase, what's your typical deal look like if you sign up a new customer?
It depends on the size of the customer. So
Yeah, but it's a contract, right?
Right, it's an MSA.
Yeah. So it's relatively long-term. That's pretty long-term. So that's a perfect example of a really considered purchase, because I'm not signing a 5-year contract unless I've really studied it, right? And your customers would say that. And so if you get somebody to the point of they're studying your offering, then you must be interested in them as a customer, and they're interested in you as a vendor. But for whatever reason, they either went dark, and that happens, or they found somebody who was willing to offer a little bit better price, or said something about their services that felt more attractive at the time. And so for you, because of the length of your contract, you might set this up that 6 months after you lose a piece of business, you put them in a sequence where you start to reach out, and the first thing you ask them is, how's it going? And you know what to ask them because you segment that lost business based on, did they go to somebody else? Did they go dark? Did they decide they weren't ready to make that kind of a commitment yet? It might have been a budget thing, business conditions. So based on your segmentation, that's the message that you hit them with. Sounds very human because it's segmented based on their actual need. and you're starting a conversation up again. And again, we haven't done many of these yet. We're just getting started on this, but you're going to find out that some fraction of the people that you reach out to will humanly reach back to you and say, hey, thanks for asking. As a matter of fact, these guys overpromised and underdelivered on what they said they were going to do, and so we're back looking, and we're going to see if we can break their contract, because we don't think they're following the terms of the deal. So re-engaging and continuing a conversation with a lost lead is a really good idea, because it's tough to get to that point of proposing, and so it's value in your database. Make sense? Okay, play 4, and this is 4A because there's an A, B, and a C in this one. Anybody who goes to trade events. Who goes to trade events? Oh, most people. Okay, we're still going. My own prediction about that is an aside. I think they're gonna have a resurgence of popularity because we enjoy going to them. Because we're humans and we're not getting enough human contact, and salespeople especially enjoy going to them and being able to engage with humans. So the 4A is the pre-event, and it's because if you sponsor at an event, whether you're a booth or an advertiser or whatever, you will have access to some list from that event. Maybe you have to pay a little something for it, but it's worth buying. You look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, we went to that event, and I think they accidentally sent theirs out for free.
To Manufacturing First? So you got the list just from going to the event?
No, we were at Expo.
Yeah, you were.
Oh.
But they were like, oh, here's a sample, and it was like all of the companies.
No, I think we didn't pay extra for that, did we?
We didn't, but we were a certain level of sponsor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe you got a freebie.
I don't know their rules.
It's a great value because it's a pretty detailed list. And so having that list means you do something with it. And for us, we actually, what's the term? Not data enriched. We data enrich it to add, if there's missing information on any one of the leads, we try to have complete information so we do know who it is we're potentially talking to.
It's a HubSpot user group. What do we use to enrich it?
HubSpot. She's my plant to make sure I mention HubSpot a couple of times during the presentation. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, so we use HubSpot to enrich it. We load it into the CRM. But that's an easy one. You're doing that if you have a booth, you're doing that to invite people to the booth. If you're doing a giveaway at your booth, you're telling them there's going to be a giveaway. In our case, we didn't have a booth at Manufacturing First. We had a breakout, and so we invited people to the breakout. And we had proof that it worked, because when I asked the question about who got an email, one of the people in the front row said, I got it yesterday. Hey, and there she was. And so no evidence on how powerful it works, but it's better than doing nothing with data that you already have. And it's an easy play to run. And then the 4B is at the event. And so again, for us, it was, okay, we put some effort into creating a breakout. We paid for the sponsorship, so we put some money into it. We want the room full. We don't want a bunch of empty seats. And so again, we had the attendees at the event. We had an offer during the breakout, and the offer was we were giving away a $100 Amazon card, and if you scanned the code to enter that contest, you also got the entire presentation. And what did we end up with numbers for that? How many people?
I think we had 49 out of 60-ish people in the room. Yes.
Yeah.
On the QR code. So this was meant to figure out who was in the room.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, figure out who was in the room, and we considered that evidence of engagement, that they cared enough about what was presented. Maybe they just wanted to have a chance at the prize, but we knew who showed up in the room. And what was important about that is it allowed us to do the post event, which was to to engage with all the people who came and registered. And then we also had a play for everybody else who was an ICP for us, who was registered to be at Manufacturing First. So we had two post plays?
2 segments of our post.
Two segments of the post, yeah. And as an aside, we've already got 2 bona fide leads from Manufacturing First, and pretty confident that both of them are going to turn into clients. And part of it is that we used what we had to work it before, during, and after. This 5th play is a cool one for a lot of businesses that we would call whale hunters. And Chris, you guys are whale hunters, right? Chris works for an ingredient company, Grande Custom Ingredients, who quietly sells to some of the biggest food companies in the world. And some of their customers are whales. That the land is getting one committed project, a long-term projects, and they work at getting their ingredients spec'd into consumer products mostly, that then run for a while because it's a very specific formulation that can't be replaced easily. And so when they get in, it's a long-term business. And their customers have hundreds or thousands of potential SKUs that they could potentially. And so the expand is, how do you expand that business and get broader across the different business units and different product categories? And so the way we would do this is use a tool like Breeze Intelligence to identify the potential visitors to your site that aren't in your database. So for Chris, she might have all of one business unit from a client, from their tech team, in their CRM. So they identify those. Anybody else who shows up and they've used something like Breeze Intelligence to identify that they're in a different business unit within that parent company, when they come, that's the trigger. So if the company has a frozen entree division and they've got a soups division and they're doing business with the entrees, but the soups people start showing up, that's the trigger. And that's a play that you activate. And you could activate it in a way that says, hey, we've been doing business with this group for 5 years, and absolutely you can talk to them. We're delivering. How would you like to have a conversation about what we could do for you? And that's the expand, is to use that relationship and use AI tools to help you identify who the people are that you want to connect with. That's a complicated one. Does that make sense? Anybody got a question on that?
How does that Breeze work? Like, how does it know when somebody from another division?
Help! Kelly?
This one's actually a combination of our B2B
And Breeze?
Matt, do I need a mic? Okay, and
For our online friends, now you can hear me. So what I was saying is I think this is a combination of RB2B and Breeze Intelligence. So the RB2B component is helping identify contacts from those companies who hit your site, right? And RB2B integrates with HubSpot. And so then similar to on the play before, where you can set criteria to tell RB2B, like, only notify me, of these companies, or only put these companies contacts who fit this criteria into my CRM. Like, we don't have everybody who hits our site go into our CRM because that's just clutter, like, right? But you could set up a target list of companies in HubSpot, and then you can use Breeze Intelligence to only enrich certain records that fit your criteria, because there is a cost to Breeze. Like, it comes from HubSpot's acquisition of Clearbit. And so it works on like a credit basis. So it's relatively inexpensive, but if you don't control it, it could rack up, right? So you can tell Breeze to say, and use some of like the target account features that are inside HubSpot to say, I only want to enrich this set of records or records that meet this criteria. And so we're playing with it a little bit. We've only used it for the event-based play so far, but it was able to identify company information to help us identify those ICP targets better than like the old free version of HubSpot Company Insights.
Yeah, so demographic data, for example, right? Yeah. Okay, the next play is the customer referral play. And this is, you want your current customer base to be comfortable and make it easy for them to refer business to you. What you use as a trigger is if you're doing voice of customer with your current customers, you're keeping yourself well aware of who's really super pleased with what you're doing. And because you don't want to go to people who are only lukewarm toward how you're doing and ask them for a referral, because that'll just get them angry, probably. You want to go to your the customers that are your champions, that love what you're doing, would be happy and proud to refer people to you. And so you use that voice of the customer to build the list of your customers who can be champions. You create some kind of a reward mechanism, and you've got to decide what that is, about how you're going to reward them. You might reward them with a charitable donation to something that you know matters to them, or you might give them choices, but you don't have to do much. It's a gesture more than anything. But then what you're using Ample Market for is you're looking at your customers, the people. You're looking at their social media contacts, and Ample actually allows you to look at their contacts and see which one of them fits your demographic filter for an ICP. So who are they connected to that would be an ideal prospect for you? Make sense? And with that, you can go back to that list of customers with a personalized request. Again, that can be automated to reach out to them where you see the intersection of their contacts and your ideal customer prospect. Make sense? Champion tracking is very similar. It starts with using voice of the customer, because what voice of the customer does is it identifies within your customer personas, the actual people, who is really an advocate for you. And the reason you want to identify it for this play is that people leave companies. When they leave, in many cases, they stay within their industry. So people who leave an ingredient company, Sarah, for example, she left and went to another ingredient company. They stay in the industry. You want to track the ones who are big advocates of yours. So when they leave, give them a month. And that's how you'd probably set up this play, is you use something like User Gems, and there's other products that can do that, but User Gems will track your champions, the people you identify as champions. And it'll tell you when they see via LinkedIn, I think it's through LinkedIn, isn't it, Kelly? That it uses as a database. But it tracks people moving, and it sees somebody that you've put on a watch list. If it sees them moving, it'll notify you. And your play could be that 30 days after the notification, you're going to reach out to them with a congrats on your move. I hope it's working out for you. Please let me know if there's any way I can help you in your new position, because it was so nice working with you here. And most of us have experienced, probably, if you've been in business long enough, especially B2B, if you've been in business, you've seen this happen anecdotally. You've seen somebody who loved working with you makes a move, and 30, 45, 60 days later, they reach back to you and go, it's a shit show here. I really need your help. It was so good working with. I'm right, right? It's happened to all of us. And so this is a way to automate that play. This is a rich one. It's not going to be a big number game because it's just, I mean, how many champions do you have? But some of them will move this year. And when they move, you want to know and you want to do a play on them. Yes.
I was just going to add, you don't need a tool like User Gems to execute this play. It can help you get more volume, I would say, and be more proactive about it. But you see that in the triggers listed there's a number of ways you could trigger this play, one of which is emails that have bounced in your CRM, right?
Yeah.
That's an obvious one. If you get a hard bounce or an auto reply that says it's a dead email, that's an obvious trigger for this. So for all of these, we tried to provide a tool that, can help you take it to the next level for each play. But a lot of these you can execute at a certain level just using your HubSpot tools.
Good point. Thanks, Kelly. This chart is the biggest takeaway from this should be that as you think about squeezing your data better, this tracks left to right the customer journey from somebody who's either completely anonymous or possibly just a known prospect, but nothing more than a prospect, to the second column. They've been seriously engaged with you in a deal that didn't happen. So serious commitment to new customer. So many salespeople especially think that their job is over when they've landed a new customer. And that may be the absolute best time to upsell them, sell them deeper or broader, and get a lot more out of the squeeze. Your current customer, it's a VOC play, it's an upsell play, it's a referral play, it's a whole bunch of plays to your current customer. And anywhere you look, everybody who studies business generation especially in B2B will tell you that getting more from a current customer is so much more profitable, so much more than starting up a new customer. Starting up a new customer has all sorts of costs associated with it. Selling more to a current customer does not. It usually delivers immediately. And then the last category is former customers, because former customers were customers. Former customers could be future customers, and they're certainly a source of what's called karma that you can derive some value from them. Any questions? I've zipped through this. Well, we might be ready for. Oh no, I got another slide. Sorry. I was ready to pop a beer. So what does it take to execute? I think I missed talking about one slide that I wanted to talk about, or maybe I wanted to talk about the imagery on it. We had a slide in the beginning that was a huddle, and there's a reason it's a huddle, and that's because for teams to do well, for teams to execute well, Reed, what happens in a huddle? Speak loud.
Yes.
What happens in a huddle, in a football huddle?
Yeah. So play is called out.
The play is called out. What else happens?
It can be, everyone needs to kind of know where they need to go.
Yeah, everybody needs, and they have to agree. And how do they agree? They go, right, set, break. And when they say break, anybody who's played football, and I'm guessing there's not broad football veterans in this room, but what it means when you say break is, I agree, that's the play we're going to run. I heard you, I know what my role is, and I'm committed to doing what you expect me to do to make this play successful. And so what does it take to execute all these plays? It starts with alignment. That sales and marketing have to be in alignment. They have to agree on objectives. They have to agree on the action that they're going to take on. They have to know what their role and responsibility is. So alignment is critical. If you don't have that, you're wasting your time. Make alignment happen first. You need feedback loops so you know what's working. most importantly, because there's no doubt as you experiment with some of these things, because these are things that you're going to want to try and learn from. You better have a feedback loop so that you know pretty quickly, this isn't working. We have to change some steps in there, or it's working and let's do some more of this. But you want to get that answer as fast as you can with the data you're creating behind the play. And then you've got to be, we think, willing to look at technology, because technology is rapidly, and that's a real positive thing about the age we're in right now, is innovation is coming at us really fast. And so in a lot of cases, if you have an idea that says, I'll bet AI could do that. Well, go to ChatGPT and ask it, is there a tool? Is there something created that does this thing? And maybe there is, and maybe ChatGPT tells you no, but here's how you could do it. Because in your query you say, well, I'm a HubSpot Marketing Pro user, so I have these capabilities. Could I execute this kind of a play using all the tools available on that platform? And ChatGPT knows what it can do, and it will tell you, yeah, go to this tab, try this. So, but that's the exciting thing about the technology we're facing today, is that it does open doors. It does make things possible. We have epiphanies like that every day. We were planning for a new client, or was it a proposal? No, it was a proposal. And Frank came up with a use of AI that we hadn't thought about before. And it's going to save us a couple hours of work. So it gives you the ability to move fast, to be really agile. And I think that's my last. Yeah. And so subscribe to the changeover. It's free. And share it with your friends, please. And give us a good rating. We're counting on fives. Five's the top, right? Yeah. Any questions?
We don't have any questions in the online queue. If there are questions in the room for our friends online, if people in the room just want to ask, we don't need to necessarily pass around the mic to everybody who's asking a question. I'll paraphrase. And then if you want somebody to answer it that's not me or you, I'll hand off the mic.
Yep.
How are you using AI?
The question was, how are we using AI?
Most pervasively, we're using it in content creation, because it's a powerful research tool. Joe, do you want to? Here, I should let you have the mic.
First, I would refer you to episode 8 of the podcast.
Yeah. Episode 8, 25 minutes of talking about the subject. Yeah.
So we purchased the team version and gave everybody in the agency access to use the paid version of ChatGPT. And so we welcomed everybody to find uses on their own, but we're using it a lot in content development. So everything from ideation to research. We use Perplexity for research. We use ChatGPT for research. It's now got search added, which is really good. So we use it for that. We use it for revising things. We use it for making some texts maybe more accessible in terms of reading levels. Pretty much you name it. We repurpose content. So if we maybe create a long form content piece, we'll repurpose that into various other pieces to support that, maybe for social media or other uses like that. I don't do anything anymore without interacting with some of these tools. We also you can use it for data analytics. It can make you a quick graph from a spreadsheet.
We use a Google product called Notebook LM.
Oh, yeah.
And Notebook LM allows us to build notebooks for every one of our clients that we populate with all the documents we have that give us a broad background on who they are, what they do. Pardon me?
Call transcripts.
Yeah, call transcripts. We put them in the notebook. And then you can go to that notebook and identify all the documents you want queried, and you can ask it a very particular question, most often in prep for a meeting. And so you can say, well, we're meeting with this client about this subject. Would you please tell me all the times and topics we talked about related to that, and what we promised to do about it. And so if anybody's in a customer-facing role, it's a great way to be smarter about what your track is with the client, and help you look better in a fraction of the time that it used to take you to look really good. One of our guys created a product that we use as a sales prep that allows us to just grab a contact and do a quick search for information about them that we should be aware of, given what the conversation is that we're going to have. So there's a ton of shortcut things that AI can do for you. I think that's what we're viewing as the greatest productivity leap. Is it shortcuts work. It doesn't take over the work. It allows us to take an hour and a half task and have it done instantly, and then apply our brains to what it gave us. So it's really both an efficiency add and a quality add, because it can go farther, faster, and deeper than we could as humans. Reed.
All right. Yeah. So I just really wanted to call out that nothing here, you probably noticed this is necessarily revolutionary. The RB2B piece, that's very advanced, but a lot of this, right, based on simplicity. So what I would encourage is just, you own the data, just put some what I'd say tries out there. And don't strive for perfection. When doing some of these plays for the first time, you'll iterate, you'll improve as you go on. And I think that's really how you learn here, because there's not necessarily a perfect way to do everything or a playbook set out. Even though we're talking about plays, you'll learn as you go. And another thing is, you think of like large spends that go along with executing things like this. And that's not really the case here. The tools you need, it's pretty affordable. Like, there's not going to be anything that's going to break the bank. Like, you think of investing in tons of ABM related software platforms. So really it's simple to execute and try, but also it's just, don't think of it as a big cost hurdle to overcome, because that's not really a barrier here. So that's why I think these are so much easier to plug and play than what we're used to thinking of. Where am I going to get leads? How am I going to drum up more business? A lot of that comes with a cost, but it's just a little different here.
And these are all low-hanging fruits that you have the ability to do because you have the data. You're sitting on that. You've been collecting it for years probably, and here's something you can take some steps and think about the good attitude that you could potentially grow with management that says, what's going on out there? What are we doing to improve our position? This is something where you can, as Reed said, try some things. You can try some things. They don't take either a ton of time or a ton of money to do. And if something good happens, you have an example to point to and say, we got that lead from here. No out-of-pocket money. It just took a little bit of time and a little bit of thinking, and we made it work with the tools we have.
I would add too, Greg, that we've talked about how we're starting to layer these plays on top of each other to make up in our pipeline what we're no longer getting from organic traffic, right? That traffic is not coming back. It's not going to. AI has taken it and will continue to take it, and that's not how we're going to generate leads anymore. It just isn't.
Yeah. Now, I would say we're not running away from organic.
No,
Organic's
it's
just not the
it's
whole.
different. Yeah.
It's just not the whole
That's a
anymore.
good point, because also what episode of it is it where Chelsea's not here, where we talked about SEO and the role of SEO in today's landscape and how that has changed. It still has a place, but it's much more like acknowledging that the traffic that is going to hit your website is going to be more middle and bottom of the funnel traffic. So it does absolutely have a place. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
But in terms of having that be a big portion of your pipeline is leads strictly generated from organic traffic. It's just not how people behave anymore. And so these plays are things that we're trying for ourselves. We're trying for some clients that we're having success in, and are really meant to help you say, okay, instead of crying about, not getting as many leads from organic anymore, these are things that I can do with assets I already have. It's a reallocation of resources, yes, but you guys all have HubSpot. You all have a lot of these tools that can help you execute these plays, like we said, at a certain level without even necessarily adding much to your tech stack, if anything, like Reid said.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. There you go.
Episode 2, we talk about the role of a website. Episode 3, we talk about the role of SEO.
Yeah.
Episode 4, we talk about video. Our video guys are here today. So we got the whole crew. So check it out.
Other questions? Well, I propose that we shut this down and move toward the fridge.
Yep, and one housekeeping item for online friends. Mary is going to send out the recording and the slide deck. And if you have any questions about how you might implement some of these plays in HubSpot, just reply to her email.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.